Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us, our quarterly call for all active donor ambassadors. So just a couple of housekeeping items to get started. Sure, I've got everybody muted. So what we have in store for you tonight is about 40 to 45 minutes of content, and then we are going to open up the conversation to Q&A. We have some guest speakers today, which we're super excited about. Some folks from volunteer services are joining us. You can load Q&A throughout the call at any time in the chat. Hopefully you have a dialog box. I will show you how to do that. If you have any technical issues, the rule of thumb with Teams, try to log out, log back in. Hopefully that does the trick. 9 times out of 10, that typically does it. You may also want to have your volunteer connection open. There may be occasion to jump in there and kind of navigate through the volunteer connection. We'll share the video after and some resources as well. We'll get that out to you in the next few days. And if you show up in the chat as a guest, that is totally fine. Certain individuals, it'll say their full name, but if you are a guest, you're supposed to be here, totally fine. You're on the right call. With Microsoft Teams, you've got some functionality that we'll use throughout the call. It might look a little different if you have Microsoft Teams or if you have Apple products. So on the Macs, it can look a little bit different, but hopefully it has a lot of the same user functions. There should be some chat dialog boxes that you can click on. Throughout the call, we'll also do some opportunities to raise your hand, have that audience participation. You can do little memes and GIFs, and there's the chat box here. So you can kind of play around with that. If it doesn't work for you, that's totally fine. You can keep track of scores and answers on some of the things that we do at home. And don't worry if you don't have that functionality. We are your team. We're excited to be here on this beautiful day to chat and conversate with you all. And we have a really nice agenda. What we'll do is have folks come on camera if they're feeling brave. We'll start from the left. We have Sylvia out in Rochester. And we've got myself, Casey, for Albany. Ellen couldn't join us today, but she is our fearless leader. She is our supervisor, and she is in Rochester. We also have Chris Alexich, who is our divisional manager. We have Aaron Wilson out of Syracuse, who had his team empowerment day today. So a long day for Aaron. And we have Carrie out of Buffalo, covering Buffalo and the Southern Tier. We are your team. If you do not know who your rep is, put it in the chat. We'll make sure that you find out who that individual is. No problem at all. This is our territory map for New York. We even have one Pennsylvania state, so that is why we are called New York Penn. There are boundaries here for each of our territories, but that is by no means a boundary for you all. You can serve in any county, you can cross lines. You are not even confined to the state of New York. Raise your hand or give me a yes in the chat if you have helped in another state. We encourage that. We love to see the crossover. Robbie's done it. Got a couple hands up. One thing to point out here is just make sure that you have all of your counties in your volunteer connection profile under my profile. If you don't know how to do that, let your rep know. We can get that inputted for you, or we can teach you how to do that. So you can look at my background here, which I developed with the help of AI. It is Red Cross Month. And I'm going to kick it over to Carrie to talk a little bit about that. And I think she has a little bit of trivia for us. So Carrie, over to you.
Thank you so much. Yes, today to learn about Women's History Month and Red Cross Month, we're going to do a trivia game. But first, March is Women's History Month, and we want to take a moment to call attention to the founder of the Red Cross, Clara Barton. And then we're going to have trivia questions on the next slide, like I said. So, Casey, if you could go to the next slide, please. All right, so first question. What year did Clara Barton found the American Red Cross? You could put your answer in the chat on the right-hand side of your screen. Options are 1787, 1904, 1881, or 1945. Lots of guesses of 1881 so far.
We need Jeopardy music.
If only. I will give it another minute for everybody to take their guess. Don't be afraid to guess something different than everybody else if you think that you're right. But all right, well, we can go to the next slide, please. And you folks had it all right. It was 1881. That was the year that Clara Barton founded the American Red Cross. All right, if you want to go on to the next slide. Our second question. Clara Barton's efforts during the American Civil War and the Franco-Prussian War inspired her to found the American Red Cross. True or false? Lots of guesses for true in the chat. All right, well, if we want to go on to the next slide, it is true. I think I made these trivia questions too easy. I think next time we'll have to throw some harder some harder curveballs at you. All right, and then our third question, in which state was the American Red Cross founded? Options are Maryland, Georgia, New York, or Massachusetts. All right, we have one guess from Maryland and a couple guesses for New York. Couple guesses for Maryland. Got a Massachusetts in the chat. Finally getting a little variety in our answers here. All right, if you want to go to the next slide, we'll reveal our answer. The answer is New York. The American Red Cross was founded in New York State. Interesting history is that it was founded in Dansville, New York, which is in kind of the Rochester area. So for those of us who are in the Western New York region, you have the chapter house #1 of the American Red Cross sort of in our backyards, at least compared to the rest of the country. And yes, Casey, she was from Massachusetts. So I purposely picked states that were relevant to try to throw people off. All right, but that is everything from me. I'm going to throw it over to Aaron now to talk more about the American Red Cross history and Red Cross Month.
Yes, so thank you, Carrie. Some of this is going to overlap with what Carrie had just been talking about. Who knew that you were going to get a history lesson today? But I just wanted to go over some interesting facts about Red Cross history in general. So, in 1859, after the Battle of Solferino in northern Italy, Henry Dunant called for an international relief organization to bring aid to the war injured. Similarly, around the similar time, Clara Barton, dubbed the Angel of the Battlefield, brought aid to the servicemen in the Civil War. So, in 1863, the International Committee of the Red Cross was founded in Geneva, Switzerland. Shortly after that, Clara Barton in 1881 and associates established the American Red Cross after she visited Europe and heard about the International Committee of the Red Cross. In 1881, the first local chapter of the American Red Cross was formed in Dansville. We just learned about that. And also, the Red Cross undertook its first disaster relief effort, aiding victims of Michigan forest fires, which is pretty interesting. Started right away. In 1898, Clara Barton sailed to Havana, Cuba with supplies for victims for the Spanish-American War. This was the first American Red Cross war-related assistance to U.S. military, so you can say this is kind of the founding of the Service to the Armed Forces branch. And in 1941, the Red Cross began the National Blood Donor Service to collect blood for U.S. military under the direction of Dr. Charles Drew, formerly of the Plasma for Britain program, as medical director. So that was the birth of blood services for the Red Cross in 1941 at the beginning of World War II. And in 1948, the Red Cross begins its national blood program for civilians by opening its first collection center in Rochester, New York, which is pretty nifty. Lots of Red Cross history here in New York. By the end of 1949, the Red Cross opened 31 national or regional blood centers. Much later in time, 1992, the first national testing laboratory applying standardized tests to ensure the safety of Red Cross blood products opens in Dedham, Massachusetts. This includes testing of donor blood for HIV-1 and HIV-2 antibodies, very important for the health of our blood recipients. And in 1994, the New York PENN region was founded, so not too long ago. Let's see, 30 years ago, 28 years ago. I'm not sure. My math is not great. The New York Penn region was founded, unifying the Rochester, Buffalo, and greater upstate New York regions. And in 2014, the Red Cross launches a smartphone app for blood donors, which you all should be familiar with, having seen it at blood drives with donors checking in with their donor ID card. And then in March 2020, the Food and Drug Administration, along with the Red Cross and industry partners, established a process for safely collecting convalescent plasma from recovered COVID-19 individuals for treatment of serious COVID-19 infections. So lots of interesting facts about the Red Cross. Glad to have you all here and enjoy our history and build some history together. I'm going to pass this over to Sylvia.
Thank you much. So I wanted to take a couple slides and I'm targeting here all of our volunteers who are students, high school students, college students, even folks who maybe are past their beyond their college years, but they're going back to school. So school is going to be out soon for the summer. So we just wanted to send a few reminders about what to do or what are the options for those folks who might be changing their location for the summer months. So let's go to the next slide, please. So if you or maybe you have a student in your family who's also a volunteer for the Red Cross. If they are staying home for the summer, one thing that they can do to continue helping and maybe increase their help is to sign up for additional shifts. Now that their schedule is going to be open up a little more, they're going to have a little more availability. You can always sign up for additional shifts and maybe even consider setting up a weekly schedule. What would that mean? Let's say there's a donation center near you and you want to volunteer every Tuesday morning. We can always work something out so you have a consistent schedule throughout the summer and you can increase your volunteer hours. If it's something that you are interested or curious about, you can always ask your rep about donation centers near you and what weekly shifts may be available. Now, what if you are not staying local? What if you're going back home? And that could be out of town, out of state, or even out of the country. We have a lot of international students as well. So what are the options for that? So the first thing that you should do is talk to your rep. Just let us know that you may not be available to volunteer locally during the summer break. If you're planning to come back to your town on the fall, that's also something good for us to know. If you maybe want to volunteer at your hometown, maybe when you were in school you were volunteering for the first time and you're going back home and you want to continue, that's always an option as well. We can request a transfer if needed, or we can just update your volunteer counties so you can still go to Volunteer Connection the same way you've been doing it, but see what volunteer shifts are available within the county and the state that you are in. We want to make sure that you have access to that. And something important as well, not just for students, but everybody who's maybe moving around, we have a lot of snowbirds in the area too, is to make sure that you are updating your address in Volunteer Connection and your biomedical counties. Like I said before, if maybe you're in Florida for the winter and you want to volunteer there, we can always update that for you, because like we said before, Red Cross is all across the nation. So you don't have to volunteer on the one place that you are right now. If you're going away for a little bit, you can continue helping us over there as well. So if you're unsure about how to do any of this, just talk to your rep and we'll guide you through the process and help you get all of that information updated. Next slide, please. Perfect. So I also wanted to give you an update on what our current and upcoming donor promotions are. So these promotions are, in case you don't know, incentives that we offer donors, whole blood donors, platelet donors as well. Usually we have some kind of promotion going on every day of the year. So the month of March, we have an incentive that is a $15 Amazon gift card that folks can get for donating from March 1st to the 31st. So this is an e-gift card, which means they won't get it on the site where they're donating, but they will get it via email. We also have an A1C testing going on. So everybody who's donated in the month of March, they'll get a test done through their blood samples, and they will get the results via the donor app. I do want to mention, going back to the gift card here, this is something that I get asked a lot. It's like the donor told me they donated and they didn't get their gift card. What can we do? The best thing that you can do is to tell them to call the Red Cross customer service and they can help them out. This has happened to me, so I can talk by experience. They'll be able to confirm the donation date, they'll be able to confirm the incentive, and they will send them the email so they can claim their gift card and then select the gift card if there's options for that. So that is a solution that 100% works. So if somebody asks you, you just tell them, call customer care, and they'll be able to assist you. Let's go to the next slide. So for March 30th to April 12th, the incentive is going to be a Life is Good and Red Cross partnership t-shirt. Life is Good is a brand. It's something that a lot of people are familiar with. So it's a very nice short sleeve t-shirt that people will be able to get during those about a couple weeks between March and April. Next slide. From April 13th to April 30th, we'll go back to a gift card. Now this is going to be an e-gift card that is not exclusive. So when the donors claim their gift card, they'll be able to select from a variety of stores. So there's home decor, clothing, entertainment. There's a lot of different options. So they'll be able to claim whatever gift card they want and also get it via email. Next slide, please. And then from May 1st to the 17th, we'll be going back to an Amazon gift card, but now it's a $20, so that's a higher value that the donors will be able to claim online as well. And I believe we have one more after that. Yes, from May 18th through the 31st, we usually have some kind of special incentive for the holidays. So this is a special Memorial Day incentive, which is going to be a Red Cross beach towel. We do not have a picture yet, but once we do, we'll be able to share it. And it's going to be an oversized Red Cross beach towel, which personally, I love the oversized towels, just more coverage, both if you're laying on the beach, you lay on the sand, or if you just, want to use it for drying out. But we'll have that picture for you soon. So those are our incentives for the spring months. For the next quarterly meeting, we'll probably have the summer ones as well. So we want to make sure you know all this information ahead of time so you can share it with the donors, but also with friends and family if they ask. So I believe that's all the donor promotions that we have for the spring, and I'm going to pass it back to Casey.
Thank you, everybody. And yep, Robbie had a great question about the incentives. Are they available online? And Aaron answered, yep, redcrossblood.org. Redcrossblood.org. You can get those promotional, the information on those, definitely. That beach towel, I'm excited. I like my Red Cross beach towels. They get good use here at the Garvey House. I'm a big fan of those. Well, now we're going to transition. We always love guest speakers, and hopefully we're bringing you relevant topics and experts on various subjects that are rewarding and meaningful to you all. So, we're sort of in a new year and spring is upon us, and we thought it would be a great opportunity to bring our volunteer services and volunteer relations partners onto the call. They've been making their rounds with the various lines of service, and we wanted to just give them a platform to talk about a few subjects and have some Q&A. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Courtney and her team. And Courtney, I'm going to let you take it away.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to go ahead and present. We do have an additional member on our call. We have Jessica Peck, who is also a volunteer relations team member. And let me know when you can see the slides.
Got them.
All right, let's see if I can get it in the correct format. Thank you. I apologize. It is not giving me the ability to put it in the normal format. So we will just go with, oh, maybe right there. There you go. There we go. There's the big slide. Okay, so my name is Courtney Shatra. I'm the Regional Volunteer Services Officer. Thank you. Got it going the right way. I have been with Red Cross for 8 years, 4 months in a variety of different roles before joining the volunteer services team. And part of volunteer services, in addition to, I saw you guys were advertising our amazing appreciation events coming up on your very first slide. We also support our volunteer relations, which impact everybody in the region. So we're not just there for somebody's hard days, but we're there for some of the days where you might need coaching opportunities. Maybe you just want to talk through a situation. And so I have an amazing team of volunteers that work on the volunteer relations team. This team reports directly to myself, and then I report to our regional executive, Kevin Coffey. So I do like to make sure that everybody knows that. We work together to ensure that the Red Cross human resources and policies and procedures are upheld. We make sure that things are heard, listened to. We explain Red Cross policies and procedures and whether or not it is a volunteer workforce complaint, or maybe it's just a coaching situation. We do investigations, documentation, resolution, but overall, our mission, you can see on the bottom, is recruitment, recognition, and retention. So even when we're talking about volunteer relations issues, it really is more about retention than anything else. And with that, I will turn it over to our volunteer lead, Mark, if you'll start from here.
Okay. Thanks, Courtney. Thanks. Excuse me, I'm just getting over a cold myself, folks. And Casey, thank you. So the volunteer handbook was something that, well, this is, I don't know if you can see it or not, but this is the first page. There's 40 pages of this that Clara Barton and I wrote probably about 100 years ago. And it hasn't changed a lot. It actually gets changed about every 2 years. It forms the basis for, I call it our Bible, for all the volunteers, whether they're leaders or just the everyday volunteers, for basically what can be done, what can't be done, and how it can be done. And Casey, when I talked to him a couple of days ago, had asked me to cover this 40 pages in about 2 minutes and 25 seconds. So obviously, after I thought about it, that's not going to get done. So instead, what I did is we put up what you see in front of you out of the 40 pages. These are about 7 or 8 bullet points that are the most important that you could know about. And excuse me again, I'm going to give you just 30 seconds to read through this, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so there's a lot there. Each one of these could be a half an hour apiece. Seriously. And that's another reason I'm going to try to convince you to read through this booklet, after this is all done. Some of the more, I'll pick out three, for example. It says that on page 19, talks about separation from the American Red Cross. What's in the handbook is important. There's a paragraph that reads essentially that even after all the appeals process is exhausted, should an issue occur, and if it can't be settled, and if the volunteer is unhappy with the results, essentially the Red Cross still has the capability to, at that point, separate itself from the volunteer. And that's just the way it goes. And then also issue resolution form. So in volunteer connection and actually on OneSource, this is called the issue resolution form. It is all of one form, front and back. And what it will do is help anyone who has an issue to organize their thoughts. It asks certain questions. And when you put the answers down and you realize what you got at the end of it, you then can have a more cogent discussion with anyone from our team or your supervisor. And that's where you go for the most part with issues, is directly to your supervisor first. And then work rules on page 32. There's 24 listed. There's probably about 89 that you can violate, but it's not quite that bad, but there are quite a few. So like David Letterman said, reason number 5080, read this part of the handbook. And then finally, also social networking. Jessica on our team had a couple of cases having to do with social networking. There's 3 pages in the handbook just about that and responsibilities relative to the Red Cross. That's worth reading. And so I wanted to leave a little bit of time at the end of our presentation. So I'm not going to use up all my time, but I'm going to pose some questions to you to still, again, make you think about, maybe I really do want to read this. One of them is, we have a number of regional executives in the state. Do they have to know this handbook? And the answer is yes. In fact, all the questions I'm about to pose to you, the answer is yes. Does it relate to the employee handbook? Yes, indeed it does. And really the only way to know that is as you read this volunteer handbook. Can it keep my volunteers out of trouble and give me direction? Yes, it can. Now, I wrote down some more questions, but essentially, again, keeping the framework and the time down, I guess I would ask, do I want to do my job as best as I can? And the answer to that really is yes. And this will help you do that. It sounds esoteric. It sounds, like, how can that be? But it actually can. So with that said, I'm just going to cut it off at this point, let the next person go on, and then leave a little bit more time at the end.
Thank you, Mark. And we'll turn it over to Ed.
Come on, let me see. I got voice, I got camera. Am I here?
You are here. Action.
Hold on just a moment. Let me try to say hi to everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Edward Pontecaloni. I'm a disaster action team specialist for Warren County, New York, and a member of the volunteer relations team. I'm asked to speak with you about some of the areas that are on this slide, and basically what they concern are the various types of complaints that the volunteer relations team or may become involved in, but particularly the types of things that you yourselves may become involved in in the course of being a volunteer for the Red Cross. These are areas in which volunteers have problems either in their performance of their responsibilities or in their relationships with other volunteers. The types of complaints that we become concerned with are broken down into 4 different categories. The first category that you see on your slide there, the category 1, those are generally performance type problems that a volunteer may have, such as not necessarily performing the responsibilities that they've been assigned. You could have a whole list, and there probably is one. If you went through the handbook, you probably would find a whole list of things that you might think of as being the kinds of things that volunteers generally find themselves getting in trouble over. Conflicts of interests, misconduct, problems with other, like I said, other volunteers in the nature that could involve safety issues, health issues, and generally speaking, performance misconduct. Those are the kinds of things that you would expect your supervisor to become involved in, to try to resolve. Again, if I mention just simply a performance matter, the volunteer doesn't show up for responsibilities or perform the responsibilities in the manner in which they're expected to perform them, or otherwise has difficulties, you would expect that the supervisor could deal with that by speaking directly with the volunteer, trying to provide hopefully some guidance and some supervision, and try to help the volunteer to be more productive in the performance of their responsibilities. As Courtney mentioned in the beginning, one of the goals that we have as volunteer relations personnel is that we are involved in the recruitment of volunteers, but we are more concerned about their retention. And consequently, even if we're dealing with a problem volunteer, we want to try to resolve that problem in a way in which we'll be able to retain that volunteer's services. If for some reason in those category 1 areas, those general performance conduct questions are issues that can't be resolved at the supervisory level, or they somehow are a little bit more difficult. The supervisor, for example, finds that he or she is unable to resolve the issue. It may get moved up to what's called a category 2. They're pretty much the same type of issues, performance type issues, but at a level where the supervisor needs help, and perhaps can call on a volunteer relations team member for assistance in resolving that dispute. And again, the whole objective will be to try to resolve the matter in a manner in which will help the volunteer continue to be a contributing member to the Red Cross. Those are probably the more common types of things that you're going to hear about the volunteer relations team being involved in. The more serious types of problems come under categories 3 and 4. Should something come up under category 3, the volunteer relations team member would be alerted to the problem, hopefully by a supervisor, but possibly by the volunteer, the complainant themselves, that is the person who has a concern about relationships with another volunteer, which we would call the subject of a complaint, an SOC. And so that they may come to us directly, or they may first go to their supervisor, who then comes to us and asks us to get involved to help to resolve that problem. But at the level 3, the category 3 level, the volunteer relations team member only is a conduit to the human resources partner, who will actually take responsibility for resolving that matter. What would probably happen in those situations is that they would look at the matter, determine whether or not it was serious enough to hand over to human resources. And if that was the case, then volunteer relations would be removed from the process. But sometimes they'll look at the matter and determine that it's not all that serious, and they'll refer it back down to volunteer relations to try to resolve. Those types of matters, they're pretty much 3 or 4 categories, as you see listed there on the slide: bullying, discrimination, harassment, and sexual harassment. And I think in that regard, all you have to understand those pretty much common things that the common understanding. But the most important thing to understand is that the Red Cross wants to make sure that it's providing a safe and comfortable place for its volunteers to perform their responsibilities. And those kinds of things, bullying and discrimination, harassment, sexual harassment, interfere with the performance of the volunteers. The final category, the category 4, that rises to the level of illegal conduct. And that area is going to be referred to the Proper Ethical Commission, the Office of Office of Equitable Compliance and Ethical Compliance, and they would deal with those kinds of things directly. That's pretty much it for my slide, I believe, Courtney.
Thank you so much for your work here, Ed. We appreciate it. So I want to talk to you guys about documentation. So not everything is severe. Like I said, we do support coaching, but the very first step for anything, whether it is something that you have seen or something that you're told, is to document it. You can use the workforce issue form that Mark was talking about. You can document it. A lot of times what I end up seeing is emails sent to my desk. So I get emailed, hey, this is going on. I'm not sure what to do, which then turns into me picking up the phone and having a conversation. What's going on? What did you see? Who are people that we need to talk to? The best thing I can say is that no matter what is going on, take the moment to write it down. The longer that you wait to say what has happened and document it, the harder it is for people to articulate it and for us to be able to work together as a team in order to help find those resolutions and, again, work on retention. I do want to make sure that we touch on some parts that from Ed. Some of the things that come across our desk are misunderstandings that could easily be resolved with making sure we're putting our most appropriate Red Cross face out there. So it could be someone thinks they're telling a joke. We could be at a blood drive. We could be out doing something with the public and they think they're being funny, maybe sarcastic. And the community or another volunteer or another staff member might not receive it that way. When we're working as the Red Cross, always put that professional Red Cross hat on. Is this something that should be said? Is this the audience that should hear it? So think about that. Another thing that comes to our desk often as a concern with a coaching aspect is someone making a comment on someone else's appearance. Don't do it. It's not nice to do it. It doesn't get received well, and it does end up with a coaching conversation. Think about if that's the kind of stuff that you want to hear from others. And that's the biggest thing I can say is just take a moment, who you're saying it to or who's around listening. Do they need to have those optics? And if something does rise, document it. And if you're not able to find this form, send me an email. We'll work through it, whether it's a coaching conversation, whether we're coaching with you or we're coaching with another volunteer, or if we need to escalate it to our volunteer workforce team. All right, with that, any questions?
Courtney?
Yes, sir.
I just want to add one thing, just so that the audience knows. We talk about these complaints and the different categories of things and how they arise and how we attend to them. Mostly, like I said, they probably would come to the attention of a supervisor. At least they should initially come to the attention of a supervisor. We are here to take them in initially if that needs to be the case. In other words, people can contact their volunteer relations team members in the region if they feel, for whatever reason, they don't want to work with the supervisor. Perhaps they have a complaint against a supervisor. But the other thing they have, and we didn't mention this, is you do have a concerned connection line, a telephone line. If you look at your handbook, you'll find that telephone number in the handbook. If you have problems that you don't think are being addressed at the supervisory level or at the volunteer relations team level, you can contact Red Cross directly through the concerned connection line, and someone will reach out to you to try to figure out what the best way is to handle that or where to refer it to for resolution. The point being that the Red Cross does want to assure you that it is here to make sure you have a safe and comfortable workplace to perform your responsibilities. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Any other questions, thoughts? All right, Casey, I'll give it back to you. Thank you for letting us chat with your group today.
We appreciate, I'll tell you what, I have one question. I'm going to throw one out there. Let's say I'm a volunteer, and, you know, I see something or I encounter something out in the field, and I don't want to make a big deal about it. I don't want to make a stink. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. I'm just a volunteer. How might we coach someone in a situation like that?
First, I would absolutely say you're not just a volunteer. You are the Red Cross. You are representing the Red Cross. We are all on the same team. Next, if you see something, it is better for you to say something so we can look at it with the lens together and be able to see if it's a conversation. A conversation isn't a scary thing. When I gave the example of, maybe sarcasm in the workplace that could be received, that's a lot of the conversation. That's a lot of what we end up seeing. So it's just well, these are the expectations and trying to make sure we're given that best Red Cross face that we can give. Mark talked about the social media. It's sometimes people just haven't looked at the volunteer handbook and they don't know some of these rules, which is why we always try to start these meetings with, did you know how to get to the volunteer handbook? This is accessible. And like Mark said, we change it every few years and just add a little bit to it. But if you see something, it is us together as a Red Cross want to make sure that we're presenting ourselves in the best possible light. So we would rather you reach out and go, what do you think about this? Or can I give this to you? Can we walk through this together? We spend a lot of time trying to make sure people are supported and your concerns have a safe place with us. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you. That's a very concise, comprehensive answer. I appreciate it. We have a hand from Oh, yeah, go ahead, Brett.
I just almost have to feel like, again, I have to add things. There's just so much to this. As Mark pointed out, that you have a handbook and it's enough to read that alone and just still try to understand everything that's going on. The one other thing I wanted to point out is that we also get involved not just with issues involving the volunteers themselves, but the way in which volunteers interact with clients. So that we may receive complaints from clients, for example, or something may come to our attention as a result of the way in which a volunteer reacted with a client. So if you had a volunteer, for example, who saw another volunteer acting in an inappropriate way with clients, and I kind of thinking that that's something more likely to occur in your area, the type of work that you're doing, because you do work with clients more frequently. That also should be brought to our attention, and something should be addressed. Perhaps you might think, well, it's not my business because he's talking to a client. We do need to protect the reputation of the Red Cross when it's out in public as well.
And in this case, it might mean perhaps a donor treats you disrespectfully. Right. So at the end of the day, what we're looking to do is ensure that you are experiencing dignity, respect, and being treated properly out in the field. So we've got your back.
Exactly.
Absolutely. It's for everybody. We want to make sure everyone's having a great experience with the Red Cross.
And we have a hand from Robbie.
All right, Robbie. You're on mute.
Sorry. I was wondering if somebody can either post here or send a link for the handbook, because I started to copy the trail from the slide, but it went way too quick and I didn't get the whole thing.
I,
Is there maybe a link we can go right to it?
Casey, can you put the link in and I will drop a picture of the slide for everybody too.
Yeah, I just dropped the one source link. So that'll take you, that should take you to it.
Thank you.
And there's this picture of the slide. I appreciate that. Any other questions or thoughts?
One thing, if you go to Volunteer Connection, go to My Region, drop down to Volunteer Connection, no, excuse me,
Resources for volunteers.
It's the first one after that. Volunteer Handbook is the next level right after that. So really easy to find. I was pretty sure it was there. I just had to double check.
Absolutely, Mia. The screenshot that you see that I dropped in the chat is actually from my own Volunteer Connection. So I could go down and be like, here's the latest of where it lives. We want to make sure it's close to the top. I do want to say, you know, again, thank you for having us on here to each and every single one of you. And you are Red Cross. So if you have any questions, anything that you ever want to share, we are a very, very safe place to share it with. And we want to make sure you guys are having the best experience possible. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, team. We appreciate you joining us. You can drop off or you can feel free to hang out with us. Totally your call. No pressure either way. We appreciate you. Lisa, you had a question regarding calls. I frequently get complaints from donors about ARC calling them too frequently with reminders. The best way to get around that is to really encourage those donors to schedule their next appointment. Once that next one is scheduled, that should remove those extra calls from recruitment to sign up. That should stop that. All right, well.
We had another question in the chat from Karen W. Is anyone else having trouble with Red Cross calling donors whose appointments might be canceled for a variety of reasons in a timely manner? So I interpreted that as donors not being notified in a timely manner that their appointment was canceled. I would say to bring that up with your local, with your rep more specifically, because sometimes blood drives are canceled very last minute. And there actually is the account manager will be manually making those phone calls to donors. So there may be certain situations in which there wasn't a lot of notice in order to call the donors. So there might be specific situations there. So I would work with your local people more on that if there are specific examples.
Yeah, that can happen.
I would also maybe add and suggest that if you get that complaint from donors in person, to maybe ask them to check that their contact information is correct. Maybe they did the appointment, online and they have an old phone number there. So if we have a wrong number or an old number, that's the number we're calling them. So, sometimes it could happen, they have more than one account. So it's always a good idea to, to remind them to just make sure their contact information is accurate. Because on the same hand, because of those phone calls that they may get about making appointments, sometimes they block our number. And then if we are blocked, there won't be a way for us to contact them to let them know that their appointment was canceled or that the drive has been moved to the American Legion or whatever the case may be.
That's a good call out, Sylvia. Open floor. We've got a few minutes. Any questions about anything? We always love the Q&A section.
Hey, Casey and everyone. It's Rich Coburness here, relatively new donor ambassador. Not a question as much as a little insight from the crew today at, let's see, where was I? Up by Latham Circle. they were suggesting, I was asked by a crew member, geez, why don't you donate on the days that you are an ambassador, which I'd never really thought of doing. I figured it was maybe not so helpful. Um, but the suggestion was, and I don't know if there's an opinion from your end, that if the ambassador takes the last appointment uh, for the drive for that day, then the crew knows that it's the end of the day, and it saves us a little time if we're going to both donate sometime and be ambassadors of drives. So it was an interesting suggestion, and I
Yeah.
don't know if you folks have an opinion or perspective or thoughts or.
Interesting. I'm gonna, Mia, were you raising your hand to answer that?
I was.
I'll punt it to you.
So one of the things, when they send us the program, blood program leader packets, because I'm both a donor ambassador and a blood program leader. In other words, I run the drives. Is that you should consider being the first in line to donate at your own drive. But the problem with that is I find and have found for over 25 years, probably close to 30, that the people that want those first slots, they want to get in, donate, get out. They have to go to work. They have something else coming up. They have to get home to get the kids off the bus, whatever it is. They want those very first slots. By the time the first hour, maybe hour and a half is over, it quiets down. And I hate to use the Q word, but this isn't disaster here. The last appointments, on the other hand, are people dashing in from work who have been busy all day and now, oh, I can get that last appointment. I'm going to get in there and get my donation done. So what I try and do for me is I try and schedule somewhere, if my drive runs from say 1 to 6, I'll try and schedule around 2:30, 2:15, 2:30. And Lori and I usually, Lori Galen, we usually are working the same drive, and I got her donating too. So one of us will donate, the other is watching the front desk. As soon as that one comes back, the other one goes and donates. And it works out really well because those middle appointments don't tend to be as full as the two ends. Just my observation.
I appreciate that. And
If I may, Casey, of course, there's those drives that are in the afternoon and end at drive time, and there are others like tomorrow at Empire State Plaza that goes atypically until 1. Often they end at noon, and the couple of drives I've done at schools, of course, are early day, uh, ending at 1 or something. So that, yeah, I could imagine that being really valuable for the folks that want to try to get at the end of work. But the morning drives, that probably isn't as much of a factor, I guess.
That may not be.
Yeah.
Where we are, we're very rural. So
Yeah.
unless it's a school drive, where they don't even want the donor ambassadors normally, it's probably in the afternoon. 90% of ours are in the afternoon. But yeah, it could be a slight difference, but just kind of observe where your people bunch up in appointments. And if they really bunch up at the beginning, that's not where you want to put yourself. And if they
Sure.
really bunch up at the end, that's not where you want to put yourself. You want to put yourself in the place that has the least packed appointment schedule.
Lowest demand, yeah.
Correct.
I do have one other question, not to dominate the time. Thinking of the students, and at Maple Hill in Castleton last week, it was just great. And I had a lot of students from the Honor Society volunteering, and what is there for them to do? Well, they sat around the 7 of them in the morning studying physics for their upcoming exam and such. So, but I'm wondering, is there any in the interest of helping younger folks start or continue to replace us, some of us older folks, of course, end up not being able to donate anymore. And I'm sure that there's the interest of trying to augment the population as we fall off the truck. Is there any information packet for student-aged people to try to orient them about Red Cross that maybe I could have to find to give at high school drives?
I feel like something exists. That is a great question. Because I know that we have folks that go out and educate, students at the various schools, and I'm sure they probably have some materials. So I'm gonna put that on my to-do list to see if I can find anything.
Yeah, and I believe, I don't know if this applies to high schools, but definitely colleges, there are Red Cross clubs. So they might not be getting the information at the blood drive, but they're getting it from school, I think in other ways or from other people.
Well, yeah, it just seems that at the drive itself, you've got, a moment of interest, and it might be an entree for some to get somebody down the road and a little more committed.
And I think from the ambassador level, that's why, I think what we can really focus on doing at those drives is getting them really competent, capable, and proficient at registration, understanding the various forms of giving that they can do, Power Red versus Whole Blood, Rapid Pass. So there's a good opportunity there to get them really up to speed. Because what we tend to ask is that you get them stationed, comfortable, doing their thing at registration, and then you as the adult are kind of monitoring canteen a little more, because those high schools are where, we do frequently see students, go down or pass out. So having you all in that more in that role where you're supporting post collections and making sure that they're doing okay. But yeah, just educating, anything you can do to get them up to speed. And yeah, if we can find some materials, that would probably help a lot, right?
Casey, this is Marion. I have a.
Hey, Marion.
How are you?
I'm
Two
good.
questions. Well, high school. I've done the high school drive. I've done the college drives. The high schoolers, they have the club as well, and sometimes they are, like maybe I don't even know what club it is that they do it, but sometimes they tend to come, and then they're only there for an hour because they got to go back to class. So it's more of you're trying to keep pace with them because they're only there for an hour, or well, I say an hour, maybe it's 40 minutes depending on what their class schedule is. So it's usually a turnover, a lot of turnovers. And then you also have them where they might want to bunch up, but it's up to you to kind of make certain that they don't do that you're, making certain that one is at the registration and another one is also helping with the canteening, meaning making sure that things are out. Not that they're, and because again, it's a lot of their friends, so they want to talk to their friends. So you have to kind of watch that and, keep them. So by the time you explain what to do, it's time for them to move on and another one comes in. So, I mean, that's what I've had with the high schoolers.
Yeah, absolutely. The two high schools I've done, one was Key Club, the other one is the Honor Society.
Right.
They did not have Red Cross clubs at those schools that anyone made aware. But clearly those groups could be supplied with some information at the time of or otherwise about Red Cross that would maybe get disseminated. But thank you, Marion. I appreciate the more seasoned perspective.
Richard,
Grady.
it's Teresa Rossi. It's Teresa Rossi from Schenectady. As far as the materials, I would contact your account manager for the drive that you're doing at the school, and they can probably provide you with some promotional material.
And
I'll get that.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Casey.
I'll get that for you.
Oh, that's great. Thanks. You're the best.
Yep.
And also, Richard, as a blood donor, also I'm a Power Red donor and a blood donor ambassador. So at the drives I'm at, I leave it up to the charge at the drive to decide when they think it's a good time for me to donate. So that way they'll know that their breaks are all finished, that if need be, somebody can cover registration while I'm donating. So I leave it entirely up to them. Sometimes they you know, if there's no Power Red openings and or it's just a really busy drive with a lot of walk-ins, then I can't do it that day, but I leave it up to them.
And
I'd just like to jump in real quick on that comment from Teresa and say that if we find that it's busy, even if I have scheduled myself for an appointment, I will let the charge know that I'm here. I can check in, but just let me know when you're ready for me. You know where to find me. I'm at the front desk. And they know, you know, usually we get the same people coming down and doing the drives time after time. So just letting them know, of course, you know, Mia's donating, Lori's donating, just holler when you're ready for us.
And I appreciate you both kind of calling back to that. And even Karen put it in the chat that, you know, she doesn't donate when she's signed up as a donor ambassador for various reasons. And I think you both hit on it, is a case by case basis, because we're there to serve the donors and ensure that the drive is running efficiently and smoothly. What happens with, I know folks on my team, is they'll say, hey, my shift went great. The last hour, there were no appointments. I even jumped on a bed and was able to donate today. And I'm like, perfect. So yeah, I would say just check with the staff, case by case basis. And if it makes sense, that's all good. Jim, your hand has been up. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I can't speak very well. I just got out of the hospital last week.
Oh,
And I apologize for Carrie not being able to do that blood drive on the 5th. But anyway, I just got one quick question. I have, like, people say they signed up online. Well, the the schedules are printed in the morning, and they may not show up on the schedule. And they say, well, I signed up for 2:30. And I just don't know, you know, should we print out that that appointment schedule like halfway through a drive again, so if any additionals are put on there that we know they're coming?
Hi, Jim. I don't know if the staff would be able to print it again partway through the drive. I could ask if that's something that they could do, but they always have the appointment information, even if it doesn't come up on the printed page, or even if it doesn't even pull up on your laptop. The charge, the collection staff, theirs is always updated, so they always know who's coming. And then when the donor arrives, I always just take them at their word. If they say I have a 2:30 appointment, if it doesn't pull up, I just believe them, and I get them registered, and then the staff has all their information. So unfortunately, it's just not always updated on the volunteer end, and sometimes you're a little out of the loop there. But it is, as far as the donor is concerned, there is no hold up once they actually go back to donate.
Okay,
And I believe it's Rich here again. I believe when you do that through the laptop, you'd have to show them as a walk-in, right?
That's right. That's the
Yes.
biggest problem. They come up as a walk-in.
yeah,
Most of our charges will allow us to say, this is the next person, even though that's not the order they're going to show up on your screen. Because if they go by their screen, that person might be sitting there a while.
yeah, I had one of them. I had one set for like 25-30 minutes, and then I went over to the supervisor and they got her in.
Yeah, so definitely always keep in communication, because that's unfortunately just an aspect of the technology at this point. So I would definitely be in touch with the charge throughout the drive when it's reasonable about that kind of thing, to make sure that the donors are being seen in a timely manner. And that's part of why what you do is really important. You know, we really need the human touch and not just relying on the technology, because the technology isn't there yet, unfortunately.
No. Well, like I said, I'm a blood drive leader for the VFW in Hornell now for about 6 months. Since I've taken that over, our donations been going up. Right now, I don't have a blood drive there in March, but I have one in April. I already have 27 signed up so far. And my last drive, I had 42. So I'm trying to get the word out, and I'm actually pulling people from other drives down to mine because they like the way I do things down to VFW.
Terry, did you have some input on that?
Yes, hi, I'm Terry. I am Ellen's colleague, and I'm in the Penn Jersey area. I just wanted to first compliment all of you for being on this call, because you're amazing. Love listening to all of this, and just a different view from a different part of the territory that we cover. I just wanted to really quick say that as far as schedules go, when the day of, they're not in real time. Which is part of the issue that volunteers have. I was at a drive today, and a donor walked in, and they asked her what it was, and she said, "Oh, I called and I moved my appointment." And of course, the volunteers weren't aware of it, because they let her come in, obviously. But that's one of the things that that might be a misconception, that there is no real time. That's all. Thanks.
And I think that's where it's so important that you just trust but verify, and let them know. It's always good to ask, did you sign? They could have signed up in the parking lot, and that's not going to be reflected on your computer. So just kind of having that mental checklist of, if they've signed up within like 24, sometimes 48 hours, let them know, hey, that's a little bugaboo with this computer here. Let me just double check, make sure you're good to go, check with the staff, and they'll, if they have their confirmation as well. But go by what they say, but you can verify it, and let them know they didn't do anything wrong. It's just a little nuance with the system that is, not up to speed in real time, as Terry said. Robbie.
I just want to say, I've had it go both ways. I've had people who were on the list, and you put them in on time, and like it doesn't recognize them. And then I've had people who've signed up in the parking lot, and it brings them up with their appointment time.
Wouldn't it be nice if it was totally consistent?
That's weird, because I've never had somebody who signed up in the parking lot show up on, as being registered when I go to log them in. But, and the same thing, like if they change their appointment time, it usually shows up with their previous appointment time. So it gets very weird. But because I'm also a blood program leader, I usually have my laptop with me, and I'm logged in as the blood program leader, so we can see what appointments have changed. And if somebody comes in and they say, well, I have a 5 o'clock appointment, but I have something came up and I wanted to know if you could take me in now, I can quickly pull them from that spot and change their appointment to the current one, so they do show up as on time and not like 3 hours early. And yes, I realize not everybody has that ability.
Yeah, you can see behind the curtain.
But it's cool for those of us that do both things. It's very cool. Or if you have your blood program leader handy, maybe they can take a look.
And it's Teresa again. There's always the option of putting them into an appointment that's open when they get to registration. It'll show if they're not registered, or if it doesn't think that they're registered, it'll show as an open appointment, and you can put them in for that appointment right with the registration laptop.
Is there an advantage to the drive to do that as opposed to showing them as a walk-in?
Well, they have an appointment. So if you have an appointment, you have priority over a walk-in. So if it's a what I call a true walk-in, where there's no appointments within, say, 15 minutes, 20 minutes to when they walk in, then put them in the appointment. If you put them in as a walk-in and all the other appointments are filled in, those appointments are going to be taken first, and they're going to keep bouncing to the bottom until they take all the people with the appointments within that half hour, 15 minutes before to 15 minutes after their appointment time window. So I always put people in an appointment if I possibly can. I always try to put them in for an appointment.
So my lack of experience will show here. Is that to say that when I have the Drive's laptop at the
Yes.
reception desk in the front, there is an opportunity to insert people into appointments versus just IDing them and determining
Right.
whether
If they don't have an appointment, the appointment times, all of them from the minute that they're there till the rest of the drive, they're all the empty appointments are going to show up, and you can put them in any of those appointments. If they come in at 1 o'clock and the next available appointment isn't till 2, I'll put them in as a walk-in, because chances are they're going to get in as a walk-in within that hour. If it's really busy and they come in at 1 o'clock and there's a 1:30 appointment, I'll put them in there, because at least they have an appointment. So they'll keep moving up in the ranking on the laptop.
I guess I don't know how to see that schedule in the laptop, but once I'm in front of one tomorrow at Empire State Plaza.
It's very simple. When you go to put them in, if they don't have an appointment, it'll say walk in, or it'll show the times that are open, and you just pick one of them. If it doesn't show any times, there are no open appointments.
Oh, okay. That's probably what's happened. Great. Thank you.
You got some new toys to play with tomorrow at Empire State Plaza, Rich.
Hopefully some of my colleagues, because I used to work there. I was trying to get some people to come and donate. I haven't heard anything yet, but I'm going to try.
Nice.
Do a last-minute Facebook post.
Yeah.
Hey, don't forget, there's a blood drive, blah, 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 blah.
I guess social media could be used for something good. I don't do Facebook at all, so because I just loathe it. But here.
Well, you can always ask somebody who has it to put something.
You could put it on your next door app. I have a neighborhood app. Things like that. Other things.
Mm-hmm. I'd have to do some of that stuff.
Okay.
I sound like an old curmudgeon.
So just walk up and down the concourse then tomorrow.
Yes, banging a can.
Yeah. Aaron.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Yeah, and by the way, when Casey was mentioning about the walking up and down the concourse, I've done that. I've gone out to J Street in Schenectady on a hot day with my tote full of waters and passing out waters on a hot day, and reminding people that right across the street is a blood drive, and I've had people show up there. So you got to be creative sometimes.
Very good. I think I have 18 people signed up for tomorrow, which I'm not sure. I think that's about right for concourse. They don't have that many beds.
Yeah, they've got, 3 or 4 in there.
4 in there, I think. Maybe 3 plus the Power Red.
Aaron.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on that topic of if someone comes in and they say they have an appointment and they're not showing up, or they don't have an appointment and you want to know how to put them into the computer. Just to sound like a broken record, because I feel like we say this all the time, confer with the staff and see how they want you to handle that situation, because they may not have room on the schedule to accept walk-ins that day. that's something to just keep in mind. They might have staggered their lunches such that that open spot is where so and so is going to be on lunch, and so otherwise it would cause them to be backed up. Or trying to think of another scenario. But yeah, just always keep those staff in the loop and see how they want you to handle those situations, because they have the behind the scenes info.
Yeah, good case in point. We had a drive where I think 2 staff were sick today. We couldn't replace them, so unfortunately, people were turned away. Not what we want to do, but you know, it's a question of capacity. Robbie.
Well, I was just gonna add to what you just said. I have seen staff step up when they've been 2 people down and do 30 people in 4 hours. So it can be done. When I first started, they were like, check with us for every walk-in. Okay. So the first thing I always ask them is, how are we handling walk-ins today? And now they're like, you just take care of it. Anything up to like an hour beforehand, for the end, and then check with us. But it depends on your group.
Yeah, we need to
Well-
replicate that.
Yeah, well, and at Maple Hill, they said go ahead until I let a couple too many come in, and then they came over and said, let's hold off on the walk-ins because we have 5 waiting. Yeah, but it worked out. It worked out.
Well, as always, so much good Q&A. And we thought we budgeted our time well. Look at that. Anything else? Great dialogue. Love the sharing of best practices and tips and strategies. I always learn something new on these calls.
Casey, I know it's a little early, but I'd love to invite you to come on down for our drive in August when we do the spaghetti dinner with it.
Ooh, yes. I'm down.
You know what? It's a great way to pull extra people in, and we usually take an awful lot of blood that day. I think last year we took 80 pints.
Very cool.
Where's that at?
Wurtsboro, New York, the very bottom of Sullivan County. And if you don't know where Sullivan County is, it's in the Catskills.
Wurtsboro was referenced in on an episode of Seinfeld one time.
Yes, it was.
I think George was.
It's not where Kramer burnt down the lodge.
It's where George was spotting raccoons on the side of the road, squinting his eyes.
Wurtsboro just got written up, believe it or not, in a travel blog about one of the best towns in New York State.
Oh.
And I'm like, really? Wurtsboro? Huh.
Look out.
Okay.
I know somebody who lives in Portland, Maine, and they got some international press, and it's just ruined the city. But
yeah, well, this wasn't quite that big.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll hang on for a moment or two, but it's getting late. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to stop recording. Give it a couple more minutes, but appreciate all of the participation.